God bless you, Patriots, and welcome to Patriot News Broadcasting. That moment, you've been waiting 10 long years for. It's right around the corner. It could kind of pop off any day now, and the signs are all coming together. Everything's coming into place, and it's looking pretty wild. Foretold by many people time and time again over the past 10 years. It's looking interesting. I like it. Should I address the poll in the chat? That was for the last election, the craziest vote. It looks like some of you know the answer, and the answer is a dead dog, sadly. Can you believe a dead dog can vote? I really didn't either, but according to Representative Kevin Kiley there, it happened in California.
That a dog successfully voted in a recent election in California. The dog received a ballot in the mail and successfully cast that ballot. And indeed, even after the dog died, continued to receive a ballot in the mail. Now, the owner has now been charged by the Orange County District Attorney's Office for illegally registering her dog to vote, but she probably would have got away with it if she hadn't posted a photo of her dog on social media wearing an I voted sticker. So the individual here has been charged with a number of felonies for perjury, for...
Can't say there wasn't voter fraud last election. The dogs were up to no good. And if the dogs were up to no good, imagine what the cats were doing, mind you. All right, let's get into the thick of things here. Here's one of your deltas today. Not long now. Dang right. It's probably more true now than ever before. And people said if you don't think a blackout could happen, just look at what the DOD's worked on before. The term black start for either DOD or industry refers to the ability to start an electrical system from a complete state of shutdown where no generation assets are running and high voltage transmissions and lower voltage distribution lines are de-energized. They worked on this after hurricanes and stuff. So I know it's not like a woo, but it's sort of a frame of what would happen if something like that happened. And interestingly, again, they said the shutdown, which could be happening this coming Tuesday. Comey's going to be your first up. He's going to get arrested for Russiagate because the deadline for, the time limit's September 30th. So they literally only have 6 days before the time runs out.
Scott, this is reporting from MSNBC, who is reporting just now that multiple sources familiar are telling them that former FBI Director James Comey is expected to be indicted within coming days. They say this is a fluid situation, but that is the current expectation, is that an indictment would come out of the Eastern District of Virginia, potentially on allegations of lying to Congress back in 2020 in testimony up on Capitol Hill. Now, you'll remember, Scott, that the Eastern District of Virginia is where President Trump recently forced out a prosecutor who he argued was not moving fast enough to move ahead with charges against some of the people that President Trump views as his political enemies. You saw over the weekend the president posting on social media urging his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to proceed with cases against James Comey and others. The president tweeting over the weekend, or posting over the weekend, I should say.
I think they're all going to be indicted. Letitia James is already being listed as next up. The list, Shifty Shift and such. It's the same timeline Juan told you about how Russiagate would come up first, and it all ties together in the 2020 election. We're going to look at a reason why here in a little bit that it might have had to have waited until now. People were always saying, Why are they waiting on these arrests? Blah, blah. There might be a good reason. We're going to look at that here in a bit, amongst other things. This is interesting. I want to look at. I'm going to bring it up on the screen because there's no video with it. So I'm going to read it. White House insider Buck Sexton says Trump's next move will shock the world. I just returned from a private interview at the Biltmore Hotel where I shared a chilling prediction regarding a major plan currently developing inside the Trump administration. I've had direct access to top-level defense and national security officials, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Marco Rubio, and others, which is why I was recently invited at a sit-down meeting with President Trump and Vance inside the West Wing of the White House. What I learned gave me chills. That's why today I've decided to give a rare interview breaking down something I believe every American needs to hear, especially investors. It's not about tariffs, crypto, or the Fed, or anything else you're hearing about ad nauseum from the mainstream press right now. It's about a radical move I believe Trump is going to make as soon as October 15th, one that could shock the world. This better not be one of those goofy things people share. I believe it could single-handedly reshape the global order, dramatically increase U.S. power, and trigger a massive American market boom, the likes of which we haven't seen in 75 years. President Trump himself said this is all about one thing, igniting what he calls the most extraordinary boom the world has ever seen. This is a rare opportunity, folks, and I'm bringing it to you on a silver platter. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but it's just from Gateway Pundit. It seemed interesting enough. Bring my screen back. There we go. October 15th, it's not far away. We'll see what's up with that. Either way, the statute of limitations, again, as far as the James Comey stuff, is September 30th, so any day now. Trump had his meeting after the UN meeting yesterday with Arab Muslim leaders from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Indonesia, Pakistan, and they are working on what's going to happen with Gaza after Israel's done. See, Israel thinks they're going to take it, but, you know, Trump's sort of working behind the scenes, and we're going to look at some of this here.
Very much. And you too, my friend. Great speech. You did a great job pounding on that table. I said, how would you like to deal with him on your left? It's not easy. You did a great job. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. We're going to work very hard on this. This is my most important meeting. I've had important meetings. I don't want to insult anybody that we've met with. We met with just 32 meetings here. But this is the one that's very important to me because we're going to end something that should have probably never started. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad. It's a pretty big deal.
It was a day marked by a great deal of focus by world leaders on war in Gaza and whether a ceasefire agreement is within reach. US President Donald Trump dismissed accusations his government wasn't putting enough pressure on Israel to end its military offensive.
We have to stop the war in Gaza immediately. We have to stop it. We have to get it done. We have to negotiate. Immediately have to negotiate peace. We got to get the hostages back. We want all 20 back.
The Emir of Qatar told world leaders Israel wasn't honest about a deal that would see its captives returned home.
Its real objective is to destroy Gaza, to render housing, livelihoods, education, and medical care impossible, stripping away the very foundations of human life.
The 80th General Assembly Summit saw a wave of diplomatic recognitions of the Palestinian state and a global outcry against Israel's...
So most of the world is supporting the Palestinian state. They talked about that at the UN. They hammered Israel pretty hard. And we're going to look at more to do with that here in a little bit. As far as Russia, the Kremlin says you're wrong if you think Ukraine's going to be able to reclaim any of its territory, which Trump said they could yesterday, oddly. And again, from my perspective, I think this is Trump and Putin doing a play, and this is where the standoff comes in. You've seen a lot of European countries saying that Russia's violating their airspace when I don't believe that to be the case. Anyway, the rhetoric against Russia is coming from all directions, even from Trump, and Putin's being urged by his people to start readying his nuclear tactical weapons.
Tensions are on the rise as Sergei Karaganov, a top advisor in Russia, urged President Vladimir Putin to ready tactical nuclear weapons, insisting it's the only way to prevent a wider war with the West. On Russian state TV, calls for drastic measures intensified, with a prominent Kremlin propagandist even suggesting attacks on Britain's elite universities, Oxford and Cambridge, to disrupt Europe's influence. Karaganov warned that not using nuclear weapons could lead to a far greater conflict, emphasizing the need to break the back of Europe amid Russia's growing military frustrations.
Why do I see some kind of standoff coming all at once, but it would be like, what? We would be against Russia. And what about the Israel side of things? I feel like it's all gonna play out all at once, all together, one big, I don't know, but the time is already, it's here. Here's another thing Russia was accused of. Here to have hit Spanish Air Force plane with GPS attack after a flight to Lithuania carrying the defense minister suffered an electronic disturbance. They get accused of everything.
No son aceptables las agresiones de Rusia en Ucrania ni las amenazas de Rusia en ningún lugar ni de Europa ni del mundo. Creemos que es esencial reivindicar el derecho a que todos podamos desplazarnos y volar libremente por territorio europeo sin que haya, como hemos vivido esta misma mañana, interferencias por parte de todo el mundo, sabemos de quién, pero que en ningún caso van a quebrantar la voluntad de España ni de ninguno de los países de la Alianza Atlántica de seguir trabajando por la paz y conviviendo en paz. Hay una amenaza real.
Either way, I feel like this is all being completely made up on that end of things, but maybe Russia is doing exactly what they're being accused of, and maybe there's a point to it. What it would be, I don't know. I don't know exactly why things are being done the way they are, and you know, some of the things Trump's doing lately you could look at and be really irritated about, like his stance on Israel or the perception of his stance on Ukraine, Russia changing, or his stance on the Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan, which I'll get to in a little bit. Moving through the news here, Hong Kong got hit pretty hard by Super Typhoon Ragasa as it made landfall in southern China. Would be, I think, overnight for us. You see the hotel here, and I like how they're all just standing. Well, guess they're not standing anymore. What's going on in here? Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Thanks very much, Mike. The most powerful storm to hit Asia in years is barreling towards major cities in China after leaving a trail of death and destruction across the Philippines and Taiwan. James Carmody has the latest on Super Typhoon Ragasa.
Good afternoon. The super typhoon has smashed Taiwan, with the epic deluge causing flash floods which have killed at least 14 people and left dozens more missing. This footage from markets in eastern Taiwan showing a woman clinging to a pole against the torrent. Much of the devastation came when a lake burst and sent a wall of water through a nearby town. Hundreds of rescue workers are on their way to the scene. Destruction also widespread in the Philippines. People there still coming to terms with devastation from Monday. This morning, Macau and Hong Kong copped the worst of what they should expect and, by all accounts, were well prepared as it passed just south. Hong Kong, a finance and air travel hub, a tourism favourite and home to some 100,000 Aussie expats, was essentially locked down. It copped some damage.
Yeah, they said as many as 1 million people were evacuated from parts of South China. Pretty wild. It was a wild storm. All right. So moving through, there was this interesting bit from the UN from Iran saying that they have never and will never seek nuclear weapons.
I hereby declare once more before this assembly that Iran has never sought and will never seek to build a nuclear bomb. We do not seek nuclear weapons. This is our belief based on the edict issued by the supreme leader and by religious authorities. Therefore, we never sought weapons of mass destruction, nor will we ever seek them. Whereas those who disturb the peace and stability in the region lies in Israel, but Iran is the one that is being punished for those actions. There is a poem that roughly says something to the effect that someone in one side of the world does something to disturb the peace and someone else is punished for those actions. Ladies and gentlemen, the Islamic Republic of Iran welcomes peace and stability. We believe that the future of our region and of the world must be built upon cooperation, trust, and shared development.
Pretty big deal when you really think about it, you know. Has it been Israeli/American lies from the beginning that Iran was developing a nuclear weapon? You know, we looked at that before, how it was always this year and that year. They're close to building a weapon. They're closer. They're close again. Anyway, Israel's alleged that a resort in Eilat was hit by a Yemeni drone. And we'll take a look at this story.
Well, now let's bring you some breaking news. Israel says a drone launched from Yemen has hit the southernmost city of Eilat, injuring at least 5 people. This is the moment a witness captured the drone just before it struck. Israeli military says it tried to intercept the drone. And we can now bring in Hamda Salut, who's live for us in Amman with the very latest. She's there, of course, because the Israeli government has...
I believe Israel feels the pressure, and things are going to ramp up entirely for them. Will Trump change his stance at some point? I don't know. He changed his stance on Ukraine. At least it appears that way. I do like what he's done at the White House, at the Presidential Walk of Fame, and the picture of an auto pen where Joe Biden's face should be. And there you got Reagan and GH, Bill Clinton, W, Satan, Trump, auto pen, Trump again. Trump again, and then Trump again. No. You got Satan in there. You got to get rid of him there. No. But if you saw that video at the beginning of the intro, they say there's stuff in the works from the DOJ coming against Barack Obama, John Kerry. Just listed a bunch of people off. Pretty fascinating, guys and gals. Time's coming. So I'm not going to linger on this too long, but, you know, they had the giant shooting in Dallas at the immigration facility. It's kind of been all the news lately. Multiple people shot. Just want to go over the latest. FBI released a photo showing anti-ICE messages on the bullet casings engraved by the Dallas ICE shooter. We'll look at a couple things with this real quick.
That's some serious news. A Fox News alert reports say 3 people have been critically injured at a Dallas ICE facility after shots rang out this morning.
Police responded to calls around 7 a.m. local time. Agents reportedly approached the suspect, who then apparently shot himself.
Let's go.
Put it in better terms here.
Hi, I'm Diane Macedo. We are coming on the air with breaking news. Multiple people are dead after a shooting at a Dallas ICE field office this morning. I spoke with acting ICE Director Todd Lyons just moments ago. Here's what he had to say about the situation.
It appears to be a sniper from an elevated position. Initially 3 individuals were shot. We do have multiple fatalities. All ICE agents and officers at the location are accounted for right now. It's still an active scene. From what we know, the shooter died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Dallas Police Department and the Texas Department of Public Safety have been great help to secure the scene. So it's still active right now in the sense that we're still trying to learn more why this happened, anyone else is involved, and just really securing the area and making sure our people are safe.
The Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said in a statement that the shooter's motive is unknown. The director says it appears the suspect shot from a sniper position. Our coverage continues.
Going to see a lot more of that, but something does feel weird about that, doesn't it? Why would somebody get in a sniper position, fire a few rounds, a few people, and then kill himself? A person like that, with that kind of planning, it seems like they would go all out till the end or till they were shot. I don't know. But you're going to see more of these, whether they're real or they're stories or it's just, you know, exactly what they say it is. It's attacks on ICE and everything else Trump's doing, basically. Director Patel put out a post about it. 7 a.m. An individual fired multiple rounds at Dallas ICE, killing 1, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities. While the investigation is ongoing, an initial review of the evidence shows an ideological motive behind this attack. One of the unspent shell casings uncovered was engraved with the phrase anti-ICE. More updates will be forthcoming. J.D. Vance spoke on it.
Law enforcement. Because here's what happens. Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government. When the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
Good speech from Mr. Vance. We got a lot of good things to look at here. I wanted to show a couple interesting things that actually I think I'm going to change up the order here real quick because some of this is more important. I'm not sure what this post. As of September 2025, Israel is not allowed nuclear inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency to access its primary nuclear facility in Dimona. Country is widely believed to possess nuclear weapons, but has maintained a policy. I believe President Trump kneecapped Israeli government with his attack on the Iranian bases that were completely abandoned. So while some are screaming from the rooftops, Iran's 3-decade-long potential nuclear development, please don't be a hypocrite and ignore the fact that the government of Israel is not allowed inspection. I forgot about that post. Anyway, I wanted to show you this from Megyn Kelly, changing the subject a little.
I've been wrestling because I find it so vile and off and odd. I wasn't even sure where to go with it. But I decided that I had to do it because the groups who did this deserve public censure. I learned when I was out in Arizona last week that 2 weeks before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, the far-left website Jezebel declared that it had a mission to cast bad luck or a curse on Charlie. They wanted to hurt him in some way. They declared, quote, if the far-right misogynist with a bad haircut wants to villainize independent women, Jezebel is more than happy to be the hag of his nightmares. And they went on to the website Etsy, yes, Etsy, to, quote, cast a curse on him. Yes, this is actually a thing. Etsy, the website known for making arts and crafts on demand, will happily cast a hex through its witches, who you can hire, on someone if you ask them to. The Jezebel crew was delighted to discover, quote, it's not uncommon for the so-called witches on Etsy to channel their energy toward thwarting Republicans. There's even a subreddit devoted to casting nightly hexes on Trump. Jezebel decided Charlie Kirk, who they've repeatedly described as far-right, the founder of the right-wing conspiracy theory factory, Turning Point USA, is, quote, more irritating than most, and asked its audience if they were, quote, interested in punishing Kirk for years of regressive rhetoric with a curse, with a hex on him. After all, they told readers, he's basically a fake news vending machine. The article notably does not list the name of any particular author, but simply uses its company name as the byline. So we don't know exactly which writer or staffer at Jezebel, which has long been a disgusting publication, came up with the idea.
Pretty evil stuff right there, and you wonder why they ask for prayers all the time. A sad thing about the investigation, according to Clayton Morris and his sources at the FBI, tell him that the investigation into Charlie Kirk's assassination is about to wrap up, concluding that Tyler Robinson was the one and only gunman. So, and somebody wrote, for perspective, the FBI's investigation took approximately 13 days from the assassination of JFK to wrap it up, and we all know how long that went. Clayton got a few details wrong, but let's see what he had to say for a second.
This is outrageous, and I'm pretty furious about it, but I did want to come in and report what I just learned from a high-level source. This is confirmed, by the way, at the highest levels. That this is about to happen. The FBI, according to my source, is about to wrap up their investigation into the assassination of Charlie Kirk. They're done. And they are set to announce that Tyler Robinson is the lone gunman. End of story. Move along. Nothing to see here. That is what the FBI is set to announce. Here we are just 7 days afterwards, and they are ready to come out and make this report. So, nothing to see here. Move along. Don't question anything. You know, all of you, Green Berets and sniper experts and ballistics experts that have so many questions about the trajectory of the bullet. Was it fired by a person on the roof? Doesn't look like it to you at all.
And I'm willing to kind of throw it off as coincidental because we already have our answer to kind of direction of the bullet. It's quite literally not possible to do what was done from a straight on shot. It doesn't happen. And I would say there's not two shooters. I would say there's a single shooter.
Don't ask questions. You're done.
He got hit at the base of the skull here, probably. Right. And so
I just want to know how they can go through all the footage and everything in 7 days.
Talking, this is immediate incapacitation. He didn't die from blood loss. He died instantly
The FBI is about to tell you no more questions.
That's a problem too, because they said at one point that he was responsive. That seems to be conflicting too, how long he did or didn't survive afterwards.
Gunman, Tyler Robinson on the roof. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. 7 days? I mean, who knows exactly when they're going to make this announcement that they're done? It's coming. You know, Kash Patel needs a victory after being so embarrassed in the early days, arresting individuals, letting them go, telling all of us that he caught them and then having to let them go, testifying before Congress the other day and making a fool of himself, telling the world that the FBI is now the most transparent organization that it's ever been. I mean, it's laughable. And he lied right to Congress. And then Thomas Massie has to call him out right to his face about lying to Congress? Okay, so 7 days. We're getting a wrap-up of this investigation. Tyler Robinson is the lone gunman. Thanks, FBI. May I remind you that January 6th, 4 years ago, is still not done. Technically, there are cases still open for the January 6th investigation.
I don't want to get off track with that, but he's technically right. It's nothing about it's been transparent, and I don't think it would be a victory at all to wrap this up this early. A couple other things people pointed out. I just broke the news that our tech partners tracked over 277,000 devices in and around State Farm Stadium. That was at the Memorial. They came from all across the country because Charlie pointed us to Christ. So what is it telling you there? 277,000 people were basically there. 250,000 people at the Memorial. That's wild. And we'll talk a little bit about that again. There was this interesting story I noticed. The day after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, a man in a white lab coat was arrested at UVU with an officer to his right who appears to be carrying a gun. That man's been identified as Russell Kim Kennington, and authorities say he was arrested for sneaking crossing 2 sets of yellow crime scene tape. When police ordered Kennington to identify himself, he allegedly fled, was caught after a short pursuit. So he was sneaking around the crime scene in a lab coat. How? It should have been locked down. There were people taking pictures on the roof the next day, saying this is where the shooter probably would have stood. It's a joke. Not a very funny one either, I gotta say. And it's gonna get worse, let me tell you. George Soros' people are up to something new. His main domestic street protest group, Indivisible, openly discusses their color scheme and symbols to be used for their next color revolution. What they're about to do is start the purple revolution, about the two parties united. You're going to see that come out, and it's going to be a Soros op.
Kathy asked a question that is a hot topic of debate internally, Leah. We need a national symbol of unity to stand against authoritarianism or for pro-democracy. I'm interested in using purple bandanas. It's not about being red or blue. It's about standing in solidarity with each other for our democracy. How can we as a group come up with something we can stand behind? So we have had this conversation internally and with a lot of the No Kings Coalition and other folks, and we're circling around an idea that, Leah, we're not allowed to fully announce anything yet.
Well, I mean, so we're actually, I would just say we agree this is a gap. And one of the things tracking and trying to figure out is like what's getting organic pickup that we can.
They prey on you, and you know, I don't know who got a hold of that video, but you can see how they prey on you. They're already trying to, you know, work a new angle, the purple revolution, purple bandanas, don't be for either side, you know. Really gonna suck people in. Couple interesting things that MJ Truth pointed out here about Tucker's 9/11 video. One about the huge surge in put options against airline stocks, and the other about the simulated training exercises just prior to 9/11. Just want to touch on them for a second.
Between 1999 and 2001, NORAD, which defends North American airspace, simulated a foreign hijacked airliner crashing into a building in the United States as part of a training exercise. And they were not alone. The National Reconnaissance Office, a little-known intelligence agency that runs our spy satellites and remote-controlled surveillance planes, was planning an exercise in which an errant aircraft would crash into one of its buildings. That exercise was on September 11th, 2001, and planned to take place just a couple of miles from Dulles Airport. That's where the American Airlines flight number 77 had taken off before it crashed into the Pentagon. In other words, the idea of Al-Qaeda hijacking an airplane and flying into a building was entirely plausible before 9/11. Officials knew it could happen, and there were other signs as well. During the presidential transition in 2000 and 2001, 9 months before 9/11, Bill Clinton told President Bush, "I think by far your greatest threat."
Couple things there, you know. I highly recommend you watch his videos he's put out about this. I'll just show a second of this.
Consider, for example, the established fact that in the days before the attack, there was a huge surge in put options against airline stocks. Who beside Al-Qaeda knew the attacks were coming? And who specifically profited from these trades? It seems possible, probably likely, that foreign governments, including supposed allies, knew the plot was coming. Why didn't they warn the United States? And why did U.S. authorities rush?
Because they were about to make money off of it. Making money off a disaster. Pretty sick, isn't it? The most stunning part, probably, though, is about Israel, of course. Oh, I already showed Megyn Kelly. Talking about 100% fact that Benjamin Netanyahu is telling people in the Middle East that he controls the United States and that he controls Donald Trump.
I never want to fight about Israel, ever. I'm actually pretty moderate on the subject, I think. Always like going there. I know a lot of Israelis always liked
you never
you know
really
what I mean?
talked about it before
wasn't
October
going on
7th.
About,
you never really talked about it before October 7th, but it was shoved on the front burner.
Exactly. It's like, this is my country. I mean, I don't own the country, but I'm a shareholder in the country. I'm an American, and you can't use my country like some kind of disposable product. Like, you just can't. I mean, Bibi's running around. This is a fact. I'm not guessing about this because I talked to people he said it to, is running around the Middle East, his region, and his own country and telling people point blank, just stating it, I control the United States. I control Donald Trump. He's saying that. And again, I'm not guessing at all. That's a fact. And I dare them to say that's not true, because it is true and they know it's true. So I'm an American. How do you think it makes me feel? Even if I didn't vote for Trump, which I did vote, I campaigned for Trump. But even if it was Joe Biden, I'm an American. You can't it's too humiliating. I can't handle that.
That's pretty disturbing, isn't it? I don't know what to make of that. Maybe he actually believes that. Maybe there's truth to it. I don't know. But they also talked about these, the dancing Israelis after 9/11. I wanted to point this out before we move on with the news here.
A number of foreign governments may have had foreknowledge of 9/11, but the Israeli government stands out in particular. And here's why. On the morning of 9/11, a group of 5 Israeli nationals purported to have witnessed the initial explosion of the World Trade Center and were seen to be celebrating the event. At the time, the celebrations received quite a bit of mainstream media coverage.
Fox News has learned some U.S. investigators believe that there are Israelis again very much engaged in spying in and on the U.S., who may have known things they didn't tell us before September 11th.
It's striking to see operatives from a supposedly allied country celebrating the mass murder of Americans. But it is true that some in Israel saw the attack as a good thing for them. A September 12, 2001 article in the New York Times quotes now Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu responding to the 9/11 attacks. Quote, "It is very good," before adding, well, not very good, but it will generate immediate sympathy. Netanyahu predicted that the attack would...
Pretty wild. So again, check it out. See what Tucker Carlson's been up to. It's a good series. Moving on, though. Couple posts here. Remember the term enemy combatants. Trump designating Antifa as a terrorist organization has changed their status from domestic agitators to foreign enemy combatants. Therefore, in my opinion, they become prisoners of war and are subject to military tribunals. In this post, it all makes sense of why he was waiting to arrest these people. Now George Soros becomes an international crime boss since all countries are designating Antifa as terrorists. It makes sense with the whole RICO situation. It's putting something big together, and it does cross multi-agencies, so it does in a way affect what Kash Patel's doing and everyone else, but people are not happy with Trump's stance on some foreign issues right now. This Tylenol debacle, did you see that? People dug up the old post from Tylenol from 2017. We actually don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concern. So what people are saying is, the only reason this is becoming a hectic thing is because Trump's name is now attached to it. And digging further, it turns out that a lot of people for years were saying how bad Tylenol was. Mount Sinai, Public Med, Pediatrics, ResearchGate, multiple doctors, John Hopkins, Reuters was talking about it in 2013. There's the John Hopkins study way back. Here's one from the NIH from 2019. Funded study suggests acetaminophen exposure in pregnancy linked to higher risk of ADHD and autism. Wow. So why are the lefties going so mad now about it? Because, again, Trump's name's attached to it. Even Dr. Tenpenny talked about it. We wrote about this years ago in the Tenpenny report, warning that acetaminophen depletes glutathione, disrupts detox, and magnifies vaccine injury risk, which ties in with what they were saying about taking it after vaccines. And it makes you wonder why people are doing shit like this. This woman is 28 weeks pregnant.
You know what I'm going to take? Some Tylenol, acetaminophen. It's going to work like a charm, and my baby won't have autism.
And she's a doctor. I don't get why you would even joke about that just because you don't like Trump. You put your baby at risk. I mean, the stupidity of it. And that's just one video. There are tons of those videos out there of people on the left throwing down Tylenol now. Like, look, I'm eating Tylenol. Like, good for you, retard. And I wanted to point something out here, not so much about Kamala Harris and Sonny Hawson trashing Joe Biden, but something that Kamala says during this interview I noticed.
I'm a loyal person. And I didn't fully appreciate how much people wanted to know there was a difference between me and President Biden. I thought it was obvious. And I didn't want to offer a difference in a way that would be received or suggested to be a criticism. And in the campaign, full time I was pointing out the differences. My theory of the case was we need to bring costs down. We're going to extend the child tax credit. We're going to have Medicare cover home health care for people, including people in the sandwich generation who are raising.
She says I'm going to bring the cost down, and she talks about throwing money into Medicare and child tax credits, and none of those things equal bringing costs down. And it's sad, while she's ripping on Joe Biden there, she's completely making herself look ridiculous, just showing how little she actually knows about anything. Moving forward here, North Carolina's House approved the IRENA law to end cashless bail, preventing the release of violent offenders, all in tribute to the girl that was killed on the subway.
Well, this morning, a new crime bill is headed to Governor Josh Stein's desk. North Carolina lawmakers passed the bill in response to the deadly stabbing of Irina Zarutska. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards is live this morning with a look at what's inside of this bill. Destiny.
Yeah, this bill passed in the House yesterday with an 82-30 vote. If Governor Josh Stein signs it into law, it would end cashless bail for certain violent offenders and speed up the process for death penalty appeals. Now, this bill was first introduced back in March, but recently renamed Irina's Law after 23-year-old Irina Zarutska was killed last month on Charlotte's light rail. Her death sparked national attention and a debate over transit safety. And the murder suspect, DeCarlos Brown, also had a lengthy criminal history in.
And he's facing the death penalty, so that passed the House. We'll see if it makes it to the governor's desk. I think it probably will. Oh, God, this girl never stops. I told you when she announced it was a bad idea to announce that she was headed to Gaza on a freaking floating whatever the hell she was on. And so she's getting attacked again for two reasons and by two people, funny enough, both sides. She's supposed to be taking aid to Gaza. Well, the Palestinians found out that she had a homosexual on board, and they're like, what the fuck? So they're attacking her, and Israel's attacking her, allegedly. So I got to look into this with you. It's interesting.
Greta Thunberg's alliance with Free Palestinian activists is under pressure over the presence of a gay man on their flotilla. Thunberg is taking part in the Global Samud Flotilla, which is a group of vessels aiming to bring aid to Gaza. Last week, a local board member stepped down when he learned that one of the sailing activists, Saif Ayadi, identified as queer. Tunisian Khaled Boujamai posted that Ayadi's presence was a distraction and shameful in two Facebook Live videos. He said Tunisians did not donate so that a queer activist could join and boast of it. Other figures also condemned Ayadi's presence, saying it's an attempt to impose a culturally progressive agenda unrelated to the Palestinian cause, and that Ayadi crossed a red line when he announced that he was queer in a public post. Greta has since accused the flotilla for focusing too much on internal issues.
Don't focus on my gay friend on the boat. Anyway, so it made news that she was talking about being attacked.
Thanks for joining us. Well, first of all, let's just talk about they've got this issue that they've claimed this time that they've been targeted by drones, and it's meant that they've had to go into port. But last time they would say they were targeted by some sort of weaponry of some sort. But actually, it turned out, and there were videos on the boat that showed that actually someone had fired a flare gun, and they.
Yeah, so last time they were allegedly attacked, supposedly it was just a flare gun they did themselves. This time they released some video.
They are throwing flashbangs at us. They are jamming the radio communication.
I've got it on camera.
They are throwing.
I guess somebody didn't want their flotilla coming, and someone had to come to their rescue. It was none other than Italy.
An international aid flotilla trying to deliver aid to Gaza said on Wednesday it was attacked overnight by drones in international waters off Greece. It's prompted Italy to send a Navy ship to come to the assistance of the 50 civilian boats trying to break Israel's naval block of Gaza. Maria Cosmidi, a volunteer for March to Gaza.
Trying to end Israel's naval blockade. They really think they were going to do that? Or were they taking aid to Gaza in that tiny little boat? Or were they just trying to get seen on video again? That girl's freaking nuts, and she's a disgrace. So many people these days just want to get seen on video. It's fucking sad. 107 put this out about the video we watched the other day showing how the trajectory came from up, and the hole in the neck was supposed to be an exit wound. I just posted the definitive and accurate footage of the bullet trajectory with entry-exit wounds in slow motion and an explanation on my channel. This debunks the entire scammer bunk evaluations that Charlie survived or was wearing a vest, or that the whole thing was fabricated that others have proposed. You can go see it here, and yes, it was set up for McAfee decodes back in 2022. So using that video to say, see, Charlie really did die. Don't know what to make of that. General Flynn posted about Julian Assange, who's reportedly seeking a meeting with President Trump to expose further corruption among Democrat elites in Congress in both the Obama and Biden administrations. Mike Flynn saying, yes, there's only an upside for America to gain here. Why wouldn't he meet with him? And he should give Assange total amnesty. Who the hell does he threaten except those that have tried to destroy America? So it's good to see General Flynn rooting for Julian Assange right here. And I really hope that he gets this meeting with President Trump and does get full amnesty. If General Flynn's backing it, I could see it happening. So there's been all this chaos in the Portland area and all over Oregon, really. This had come out the other night. Reports of Antifa zip-tied and barricaded the ICE facility, then tried to set it on fire with agents trapped inside. I haven't found anything on this, but this was going around everywhere last night from Andy Knows, supposedly. I did find this where there was a situation in Eugene, Oregon. That's all I know. So if you know, Antifa members somehow got the best of ICE agents and zip-tied them and tried to barricade them in a building, it didn't make the news at all. So Chuck Grassley talking about crops again. The green soybean on the left is the start. Now you see in the center mature pod and open pod, so you can see the developed soybean at this stage. It's about ready for harvest. The ideal time to harvest is when moisture of beans is about 13%. Happy harvest. So then I saw Soybean Watch, hashtag Soybean Watch. I went ahead and threw it into Gematria because I was curious what it would throw out. And some interesting stuff. Great Awakening equals Soybean Watch. Heaven on Earth equals Soybean Watch. Financial Reset equals Soybean Watch. Chris Cornell equals Soybean Watch. The Gematria Code equals Soybean Watch. The end is now. Interesting. I don't know what his message is there, but, it's kind of funny. Chuck Grassley. Trust Grassley. TikTok is censoring and removing videos that expose how a group led by pro-Israel billionaire Larry Ellison is preparing to seize control of the platform and restrain the algorithm to silence criticism of Israel. That's not going to make people very happy or any more happy with Trump either, especially when they're backtracking on things. President Trump's administration has brought back hundreds of federal employees who were laid off by Doge. This I don't understand.
The Trump administration is rehiring hundreds of federal employees after their jobs were cut by Doge earlier this year. The Associated Press reports the General Services Administration has given employees until the end of the week to accept or decline reinstatement. The agency initially had around 12,000 employees before the cost-cutting efforts by the administration. So let's bring in CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, thank you for joining us. The big question here is, what is behind this move?
Well, Muka, that is a great question. The General Services Administration is asking hundreds of employees whether or not they want to come back and work for the federal government. And as you mentioned, there are about 12,000 employees on this specific administration. Now, it was the target of DOJ, which they say was guilty.
So it's, it's the exact kind of news. It's angering people, and I don't know what the point of it is either, I gotta admit. But, the news twists things exactly like this particular story. All the trash outside of the Charlie Kirk Memorial.
Look at this. I have no idea.
It practically looks like somebody went in there and dumped trash on purpose, but there is an explanation here.
So by now we've all seen this video right here, right? And the left claiming that the people that supported Charlie Kirk left the streets of Arizona a complete mess. I'm telling you, that's a lie. This is after the event. Those same streets completely clean. They went out there to score quick points, claiming that the streets were a mess right before the cleaning crews went through and completely scrubbed those streets. This is my home. This is Charlie Kirk's home. We weren't going to leave that a mess at all. And at the end of the day, you have to realize this is why no one trusts the left. Because they lie.
Yes, they do. Like this.
So I come to Charlie Kirk's funeral, and this is what these people that come to Charlie's Kirk funeral does. And then they make these people clean it up. How utterly disrespectful is this? Look what you guys did.
One of the guys that was actually cleaning in that video responded saying, "This is so taken out of context. I was part of the cleanup crew. This was pre-planned. People were told to bring water and food, to stay hydrated and fed because of how long they would be in line. They purposely had no trash cans so the police would not have to worry about checking every trash can for explosives. Everything was cleaned up within a few hours." Again, this explanation.
All right, I'm going to make this very clear for the slow people in the back. I'm seeing tons of videos about all the trash that was at the Charlie Kirk Memorial. The problem is that they didn't have trash cans. They didn't do trash cans on purpose. They told everybody to bring food and water because we were going to be waiting in line for hours. It was 5 hours before we even got into the entrance. And the reason they didn't do trash cans is because, do you think the Secret Service needed all of that extra worry about people putting explosives and dumb shit in trash cans? There's no way that they would have time to go around checking all the trash cans around. It was much safer for everybody involved and all the people there. There was over 300,000 people at this event. They had a cleanup crew ready to pick up all the trash as soon as everybody got into the event. As soon as everybody got in, those streets were completely cleaned up. By the time we left the event, there was not one piece of trash outside in sight. So everybody making all these assumptions about how we trashed everything, you people have no idea what you are talking about.
So there is that explanation of the trash. It makes sense, actually, and they planned on cleaning it up, which they did. The acting director of ICE says assaults on agents are up by 1,000%.
And you mentioned the threats that you feel are being directed toward your agents. Talk to me about that. What's the environment in general?
I've never seen anything like this in my law enforcement career. I've never seen threats on law enforcement, specifically ICE, increase the way it is. We're up over 1,000% assaults on officers right now. And really just a lot of the talk that's out there, a lot of the rhetoric is just the violence directed towards law enforcement officers just trying to do their job. And we just keep seeing an increase step by step. Like I said, we had that shooting at the Alvarado facility, which is right outside Dallas, on July 4th, where they ambushed officers in military tactical gear under the guise of fireworks. And now we have this. And it just seems like it keeps getting worse and worse, and it has to stop.
And then you got people like Gavin Newsom demanding they take their masks off. Like, you can see how anti-American these people are. Now, if ever there was something going on with Trump that I have a problem with, it's this right here. He wants to retake Bagram Airfield from the Taliban. Why would I have a problem with this?
We're going to leave Afghanistan, but we're going to leave it with strength and dignity. And we're going to keep Bagram, the big air base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. We gave it to them for nothing. We're trying to get it back, by the way. Okay, that could be a little breaking news. We're trying to get it back because they need things from us. We want that base back. But one of the reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons.
See, that's a problem. We supported Russia all this time because NATO wasn't supposed to get any closer to it. They didn't want missiles that close. They didn't want weapons in Ukraine put there by NATO. So why would China want us to have an air base an hour away from where they make nuclear weapons? I get how it's great for America, but it's like trying to start a fight. It's hypocritical, and I don't think we need a base in Afghanistan. That's where I completely disagree with the president right now. People have been talking lately about fencing going up around D.C., and they've been showing a lot of pictures and videos. Now people are talking about a cement wall going up.
What the? I am trying to continue my run. This is on the National Mall, okay? I am not as good at streets as Nancy Drew is. She's much better at the street names. I am deficient in that area. So if you can picture this, like, it's okay. Holy shit, this is insane, right? Look at the timing. They're putting up these freaking concrete walls, you guys. Okay, so just to span out where I am, I'm on the National Mall, and if you can see behind the trees right there, that's the, you know, satanic symbol of the Washington Monument. So I was gonna run down and pick up Constitution. So I'm heading towards, I'm heading towards Constitution. Constitution is right behind this wall. And I was heading towards Constitution to go up to the White House to see the fencing. Check this shit out, you guys. I can't get any closer. Dudes, the fuck, all right? I'm gonna keep running. Now I can't run straight. I don't know what's...
I mean, I don't know. Something not so good's coming, that's for sure. Dr. Ben Carson was sworn in as the National Nutrition Advisor to make America healthy again. And on top of that, Utz brand plans to fully transition away from synthetic dyes by the end of 2027. It's one more company, one more win for Maha.
We made a big announcement. Dr. Carson's joining this administration, President Trump's vision on making America healthy again. We just swore in a couple hours ago. Dr. Carson's going to be our National Nutrition Advisor. So as we continue the work to make America...
National Nutrition Advisor. Welcome to the administration, Dr. Carson. Good to have you on board. More threats at Denmark's airports, apparently getting closed after mysterious drones being spotted, with all incoming flights being diverted yet again.
Tonight, after mysterious drones forced the closure of two major airports in Denmark and Norway, President Trump calling on U.S. allies to open fire on Russian aircraft that cross into their territory.
Do you think that NATO countries should shoot down Russian aircraft if they enter their airspace?
Yes, I do.
Would the United States help them out?
Yeah, I can't blame him for saying that, but I just, again, don't think it's Russian aircraft. I don't know, part of the thing. Israeli forces are nearing the heart of Gaza City as Hamas reportedly prepares to start street-to-street fighting. I mean, I guess it's time to see someone fighting back.
Israeli forces are pushing deeper into Gaza City, reportedly nearing the center as Hamas prepares for intense street-to-street combat. Verified footage shows Israeli tanks close to Al-Shifa Hospital and UN facilities. Israel describes Gaza City as Hamas's last stronghold, aiming to eliminate militants and rescue hostages. Thousands of Palestinians have fled the city amid heavy shelling. A Hamas source claims their military commander has ordered fighters to converge on the city for a decisive battle, reportedly mobilizing up to 5,000 fighters. While Israel aims to destroy Hamas tunnels, the group claims some remain intact and has adapted tactics, potentially employing guerrilla warfare and...
Either way, it can't last much longer. Whatever is going to happen, and it needs to end at that point, I would say. So, James O'Keefe has put something out saying the senior Department of Justice Epstein investigators revealed that Epstein was CIA and an Israeli asset protecting high-profile figures. Prager claims he interviewed all Epstein victims and rapes did occur on the plane when Bill Clinton and others were present. No kids or rapes were ever on the plane when Trump was on his plane. Department of Justice allegedly avoided prosecuting Epstein because he was an asset for the United States and Israel. We'll look at this for a second.
It's not talked about yet, but it's soon to come out that he was a CIA informant.
He was a CIA.
He was a CIA. I think he's protecting a lot of other people. He's not protecting himself because there's nothing there, but he's protecting a lot of people. Because Trump's now saying it's a hoax of the case, like a hoax or something. I mean, come on, you know it's not a hoax. He's been on the plane now, many times. It's just he was never on the plane with the kids. I've seen the itineraries and I've interviewed all the victims. There's never been an instance where Trump was on a plane with these kids and a rape occurred. But that can't be said for Clinton, and it can't be said for others. While the Clintons were on the plane, while Bill Clinton was on the plane, there were rapes that occurred.
Overheard at Phoenix Airport on September 8th, 2025, a senior Justice Department investigator who personally worked on the Epstein case tells all. Glenn Prager, who has reviewed Epstein itineraries and has interviewed Epstein's victims, drops a bombshell. He says that the DOJ did not want to go after Epstein because he's a CIA asset, that the evidence from his investigation confirms that Bill Clinton was present for alleged rapes on the Lolita Express, and that President Trump was not present for the rapes that Glenn Prager investigated, but that he is protecting a lot of other people that were.
How about this whole Epstein thing that's like going on?
So I worked on that case. I used to interview all the victims. And my picture was 20 to 30 victims in Palm Beach that I was interviewing and dealing with and stuff like that. And then we would go ready to go to trial and they would flip. Epstein would just pay them off. And they were just like little kids. They pay off their family. They're all broke kids and poor families. And so you pay them off like anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000. Nothing in that guy's world.
Prager there describes how the victims that he interviewed were paid off by Epstein right before going to trial. Prager has worked as an investigator inside the Department of Justice for over 20 years.
So what do you guys think? It's disturbing. I mean, we know that stuff, but to hear top investigators saying that Trump's particularly protecting people is at the very least frustrating. And if you think that's frustrating, wait till you see the next story from the People's Voice. And I don't know what to make of this one. This story is accusing Charlie Kirk's wife of being involved in some very bad things.
They told us the story was simple. A tragedy, a grieving widow, a nation watching in sympathy. But scratch the surface and the mask falls fast. The widow might not be who she says she is. Evidence is emerging that she was groomed, trained, and positioned in place, not to mourn, but to inherit. Behind her polished smile and professional public performances lies a pipeline of children moved across borders, fortunes rerouted offshore, and influence funneled straight into the hands of her handlers. This isn't a love story, it's a transfer of power, and the files we just uncovered prove it. Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why this operation had to stay hidden, and why they're willing to kill to protect it. Before we dive in, let me just tell you about an important service that lets you protect your privacy from the deep state. Our partner VP.net isn't just another VPN, it's the next evolution in private browsing, built with unbreakable zero-logging architecture. That means no records, no traces, nothing for the globalists to snoop on. Israel has been on shaky ground since the Epstein conspiracy was blown wide open by the alternative media. And when whispers move from fringe feeds into mainstream headlines, power feels exposed. When that happens, those who depend on that power don't sit back. They secure the future. This is the playbook. If you can't control the money, control the minds. Right now, that play is audacious and direct. A focused grab for America's youth. They're not just buying influence by paying for propaganda, they're weaponizing attention. Days after the Charlie Kirk assassination, the TikTok algorithm was handed over to Israeli intelligence via Larry Ellison of Oracle. The mission? Brainwash the conservative youth of America with Israel First narratives.
Tell us, what is your connection to Israel?
Well, the renewal of the Jewish state is something that I think touches all of us. For 2,000 years, we were a stateless people. And now we have a country of our own, defended by all the brave men and women of the IDF. So anything we can do to support them, who devote their lives for preserving the state of Israel, keeping the people safe, and allowing our state to continue sometimes in very, very difficult situations.
Did you visit Israel?
I have been to Israel. I have been to the border. I have spent time to the people who govern the state of Israel, and I feel a deep emotional connection to the state of Israel and the Israeli people. So we've actually acquired a number of Israeli companies. We have 2 CEOs at Oracle. One's name is Safra Katz, and she was born in Israel. So again, we love the country of Israel, and we'll do everything we can to support the country of Israel.
But hijacking the narrative on American social media wasn't enough for the handlers and their globalist backers. They set their sights on Turning Point USA, the influence machine built by Charlie Kirk, a man many believed could one day lead the country. Kirk's refusal to toe their line made him dangerous. He kept pounding an American first drum, even as establishment power shifted away from the movement that put him on stage. So the plan moved from persuasion to possession. When Kirk turned down a $150 million offer to recast his platform as a mouthpiece for Israel First talking points, the globalist elite didn't fold. They executed the contingency. Erica Kirk liked to present herself as an everyday hero. To her audience, she was the face of faith, family, and service. But long before the hashtags and photo ops, accusations were already circulating. Accusations that her so-called ministry in Romania was a front for trafficking children across borders. Back in the early 2000s, Erica worked as a model and casting director. Soon after, she reinvented herself as the head of the Romanian Angels, an NGO operating in Constanta, Romania, a city infamous as a trafficking hub. On paper, her group partnered with the US military and placed children into adoption. But locals told a different story. That kids were being taken, not protected, and funneled straight into networks supplying Israel and private islands with very young orphans.
2012 wins Miss Arizona competes in Miss USA, a pageant owned by ... Trump. Okay, want to know something really weird? So she had said in a podcast that she had never competed in pageants and had never done any modeling before, until one day she receives an invitation in the mail to become a model and start doing pageants. And the pageants that she started doing were Miss USA pageants owned by Trump. So she modeled for Trump. She was one of Trump's pageant girls. But did you know that she was also a casting director at the same time that she was doing all of this stuff for Trump? Now, she doesn't specify on her website if she worked as a casting director for Trump, but around the time that she was claiming to be a casting director, she also owned a ministry that was working with the U.S. military in Romania. The area in Romania where she was operating this ministry had a bunch of locals accusing these evangelical ministries of kidnapping children and trafficking them out of the country. These children were being found in the UK, in Israel, and were also being sent to undisclosed private islands. Locals demanded authorities look into it, but they never did. Now, Charlie Kirk really wanted the Epstein files released, but did his wife? Prior to marrying Charlie Kirk, she was a multi-millionaire on her own, and since his passing, she's also amassed all of his wealth, plus an additional at least $5 million in donations. She's currently considered the most powerful woman in the United States, with mega fans begging her to run as vice president in 2028.
And then came 2018. Erica travelled to Israel, where what she described as a job interview became something else entirely, a date with Charlie Kirk. To the public, it looked like romance. To those following the trail, it looked like the next stage of an assignment that was planned years in advance.
Let's talk about their first date because it was actually a job interview. Back in 2018, 2 years after Donald Trump had started working with Charlie Kirk had hosted a Turning Point USA opening event for one of the offices that they had opened. And Erica and Charlie Kirk were introduced to each other. Charlie Kirk instantly thought that she was beautiful, but thought that she was really smart. And allegedly, one of their mutuals had suggested that Charlie Kirk hire Erica. I'm assuming it was Donald Trump or someone on his team because Donald Trump had signed on to work with Charlie Kirk and Erica was already one of Donald Trump's employees. So it would make the most sense for Donald Trump and his team to encourage Charlie Kirk to hire Donald Trump's employees. Anyways, Charlie Kirk DM'd Erica, invited her for a job interview. The job interview ended up turning into a date.
A quick warning to anybody ready to attack us for exposing this, know this. We have every file, every piece of evidence, and it runs deep. If we're pushed, we won't hold back. We will release it all. We know all about the disappearances of Louisa Malenko and Alexandra Makasanu and countless others. But for now, we have to ask, was Charlie Kirk another victim of an Israeli intelligence honeypot operation? Whenever there is a false flag and the official narrative makes no sense at all, there's one question you have to ask. Who benefits? Follow the profits, follow the power, and the picture sharpens. After the break, we connect those dots and reveal the files that expose a dangerous history the architects are literally killing people to keep covered up. Today's sponsor is PillsForever.com. If you think Big Pharma have your best interests at heart, think again.
So what do you think, guys? Do you think Israel martyred Charlie Kirk? Do you think his wife could have been connected to human trafficking? Nothing would surprise me these days. Really wouldn't. Just when you think you've got a grip on it, it really... So, that's life for you guys. Now I want to take a look at something real quick. I think will lighten the mood a little bit before we go on. It's kind of goofy, but it was really well put together in a sense, and I thought you guys might enjoy it. See if I can find out where I put it. It's something I just happened to come across today on YouTube. Where did I put it? Gotta find it. It's here somewhere. Here it is. Alright. It's not that long, so after this we'll move on.
Selamat datang di acara presentasi teori konspirasi kami. Apakah kalian siap dengan teori konspirasi saya?
Ya.
Tidak. Kalian tidak siap? Oke. Oh, karena akhir-akhir ini saya sedikit
It's not in English. Why does that keep happening? Those kids there put together a thing on why they think Trump's a time traveler, and it was pretty funny. It was pretty interesting, actually. And they did it some justice. They went through the Ingersoll Lockwood books and Nikola Tesla and John Trump, and so I guess we're not going to be able to watch it since it's not in English, but we'll move forward here. I'd like to start and see if this is, yeah, might have to watch it the live way, but Sheila Holmes was on. I'd kind of like to see what she had to say first before we dive into some other things. Sheila Holmes, I remember her talking about the 7 times we tried to take America back from the elite. So I'm interested to see what she's talking about today. Let's take a look. All right, Patriots, you still around? You still awake? Glad you guys are here. Everything's headed right exactly where everyone's been saying it was going to head. And on the one hand, while some things are becoming more clearer, it's odd that other things are becoming a little more confusing as far as what's actually going on with Russia, Ukraine, and Trump's stance on that, Israel, Gaza, Hamas, Charlie Kirk, the FBI, like we saw there, they're going to probably wrap the case up and conclude that it was one shooter and it was Tyler Robinson. That was it. And how are we supposed to feel about that? Are they wanting to stir people up? I don't quite know the answer to all of it, and I wish I did. And there's probably not a good answer other than enjoy your life and try not to overly think of politics, but I kind of have to do that. And as far as what I'm saying in the chat here, I know I come across good news at good times, and I'd like the show to be able to reach more of an audience. I know the main turnoff to people watching the show is it's just really long, and I know there's different things I can do about it. I just haven't wanted to do that, but I would like to reach a bigger audience, not just for numbers and attention, but just because these news stories, a lot of these things I come across, I see people seeing it like 3 days later, or it not getting big, and it's not a big deal, I guess, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, well, there's definitely confusion. There's always confusion, Vance. It's hard to see things clearly, but there is always comms there that were always meant to answer those questions, such as saying Israel for last. You can hold on to that. It's just it is odd when you got people like Clayton Morris saying, or not Clayton, but Tucker Carlson, saying that Benjamin Netanyahu claims that he controls Trump and Israel, or the states and Trump, and I don't know. Where do you go with all that? But either way, the good things are happening. I do believe we will see James Comey arrested in the next few days, because again, that statute of limitations runs out September 30th, and Trump wants something done. The people want something done, and I think we'll see that happen. I think we'll see Letitia James up there and a few others, and some Russiagate stuff in 2020. And well, I know, Jamie, I don't want to cut it short in that regard. I could, split things up as far as doing my news and then doing a show afterwards where we do what we're doing now, watch these videos. these videos are long, you know. I probably won't be doing that forever anyway. Things will change, and it won't really be about seeking those specific answers. We're on a journey together, and it's, you know, there's changes coming. I can feel change coming, and it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean I'm going anywhere or anything like that. It just means I'd like to have more of a positive effect. I'm putting so much stressful work into it, doing it myself, that I kind of lose the fun side of it and what it's really all about sometimes, you know. And my days just kind of disappear with putting it all together. The day starts, the day's over, and I'm here at this computer. It's rough some days, but wouldn't be a bad idea to have a brainstorming team. You guys are always welcome to put ideas together with me. There's a lot that can be done. I'm just worn out. I think we're all worn out. We're all mentally worn out for sure. Yeah, you can see positive changes. But that's usually how it works. Just when you think you understand where Trump's going with something, it completely changes direction, or something happens. I get that there's this narrative that the public's supposed to see. I think if Trump turned on Israel, that would be it. You know, all these other countries basically have, and it may be the fact that Trump's holding on that's allowing Israel to conduct things the way they are, but you know, things that Netanyahu's done, or I mean, he can stand up there and say it's fake, just like anything else, but you can only buy that to such an extent. He's supposed to be kind of a wanted criminal. I don't know. It is what it is, patriots, but it's a storm. I expect there to be more chaos, whether it's real or just something to look at on TV, or I don't know. You're gonna see more. You're gonna see a lot more. It's gonna get chaotic on some level soon. I'm tired and I'm rambling. See, we'll do it all again tomorrow. And if I had time to think of other things, I'd probably do something differently, but I don't. By the time I wake up, I'll be right back at it. Yeah. It's going too slow, Michelle. Well, we've held out this long, right? You're solid 10 years into it. You might as well hold on this much longer. Sometimes, though, if you're like me, it feels too good to be true. Maybe that's just my not so trusting nature of government people. Usually when it feels too good to be true, it's too good to be true. I don't know. Have no choice now. Well, that much is true. I tell myself it can't go on much longer, but on some level it's gonna go on a while longer, On some level it never actually ends. That's the truth of it, but still really hope there's a point where those timelines come back together, whatever you want to call it. Timelines, realities, end of military operations. Does it ever end type of thing? We'll see. I do think it's going to be intense. I mean, everyone's talking on every kind of level at this point. So, I mean, it's action time. I don't know if we're going to go into some kind of standoff that wakes up the world that's on a 9/11 scale, but bigger. You got to think big, and I'm trying to think big, and it suddenly looks like we're against Russia again. It looks like they're breaching their bounds, and they're talking about nukes, and if ever there was a standoff, it could be that. Everyone's on the brink of turning against Israel, but they're not going to do anything about it, and Israel's not going to stop doing what they're doing. So, of course, there may be hell to pay when they find out that Trump and all these Middle Eastern countries aren't going to let them just waltz in and own Gaza for themselves. So, there's some stuff there, and I don't know. I don't know what direction it'll go. Will it wake up the world? Charlie Kirk's woke up a lot of people on the left, and I think we have to at least respect that. I feel bad seeing all this stuff, and it's gone to such a level now where they're literally accusing his wife of being into child trafficking, and for all I know, maybe there was some bad things in the background there. You just never know with people. I'm not gonna assume any longer. It just is what it is. The theories will continue. I imagine Kash Patel is just trying to put it to rest by putting it to rest, but in a way it just makes people feel more suspicious about it, and it's just going to create more speculation. Of course, I don't know. One day at a time, right? Here at Central Standard Time, we are 2 minutes away from the end of Wednesday, so I think it's time to wrap it up, Patriots. I'll be on tomorrow, and we'll figure it all out again tomorrow, but I enjoyed being here with you. God bless you guys. Have a good night.